Wonderlands has been out for about a month now, and I've been having an absolute blast playing through the game. And although I have been pretty slow at finishing the endgame stuff, there are a couple of huge problems in this game that even now are sticking out like a nail in a floorboard. If these couple of issues would be fixed, I could definitely see Wonderlands going down as one of the best in the entire series. Hey everyone, I'm Constantine, and this is 5 things that Wonderlands needs to fix right now. First up is the puddles. Now the puddles have been absolutely memed to death at this point, so I won't spend too long talking about them, but the puddles are literally so overpowered it is stupid. Not only is the damage they deal way too high, but I feel like their hitbox is actually bigger than it should be, as sometimes I'll jump over the puddle and still get a status effect applied to me. I can't tell you how infuriating it is to be an overpowered level 40 Death Knight who can survive hordes and hordes of enemies without fail, but then steps in a puddle and insta-dies. Please fix this glitch. The next problem isn't even just purely Wonderlands based, it's actually the same issue I faced in Borderlands 3, the menus. Somehow the menus seem to have actually gotten worse from Borderlands 3 to Wonderlands. Now do keep in mind that I'm speaking purely from a mouse and keyboard standpoint, so for controller users it might not be the same. But there are so many faults with the menus this time around. The inventory screen is once again somehow less functional than before, not having a drag mechanic. And honestly I could deal with that, but the map is horrendous. Like, why on earth can I not move around the map with the WASD keys? Instead I have to pan around with my mouse like I'm editing a photo or something. Not to mention that the problem of it not showing information about the highlighted icons is still there as well. I don't know how, but the menus seem to get worse with every single game in this series, and while I admire what Gearbox is trying to do with the 3D map, it just isn't working and actually makes everything far more confusing than it should be. Next up is the enchantment reroll cap. Now if you've seen my previous video about anointments in Borderlands 3, you already know I don't like them in general. If you haven't, then you should really check it out, I worked hard on it. But the fact that there is a cap on rerolling what is already a stupidly painful mechanic to begin with, is probably one of the stupidest things about this game. Not to mention the fact that you can reroll your gun to the exact same enchantment, meaning that there's actually a possibility to use up all your enchant rerolls and only get the exact same anointment in the end anyway. And the exponential price scaling of rerolling is incredibly stupid. Even if there was no limit, it would be costing you over 1 million moon orbs to reroll by your 20th reroll. It is honestly amazing to me that the only complaint players had about the reroll machine in Borderlands 3 is how expensive it was. Yet Gearbox made it more expensive in this game. Why? Another thing that was really just a bad call on the developer's part is linking the dedicated drop rate to loot luck and lucky dice. Who made this call? Honestly, there have been luck modifiers in previous games, Borderlands 2 and 3 specifically, and they have never touched the dedicated drop rate in any way. The Vault Hunter's Relic from Borderlands 2 just made whites less common, and the loot quality / luck in Borderlands 3 just increased world drop chance. So why did Gearbox decide to make loot luck in Wonderlands affect dedicated drop rates? Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy collectibles in video games, and Borderlands 3's collectibles were honestly super satisfying, but they also weren't linked to any imperative necessary endgame mechanic. Lucky dice in of themselves weren't a bad idea, but making it so dedicated drops are mega rare before getting them all is stupid, especially when Borderlands and Wonderlands is supposed to be all about the farming. Another thing that is basically guaranteed in every game at launch is weird little glitches that seem to have no explanation. I'm not as mad about this one as it's essentially unavoidable, but I've come across some strange bugs in this game. For some reason when I activate from the shadows on my Stabomancer, it will give me no bonuses at all and the duration will be permanently at max until I go down. So yeah, it's a bit strange, but small glitches like that are everywhere in gaming, so it's not a huge deal. Alright, this last point is probably going to get me a little heated, so apologies in advance. But the biggest priority for Gearbox to fix right now is the fact that a huge portion of the named enemies and mini-bosses in this game do not respawn. Why in the hell did they make this call? They did this in Borderlands 3 and it was met with huge backlash. And even the pre-sequel originally had no respawning bosses and was yet again met with an insane amount of backlash. How many games is Gearbox going to make without respawning mini-bosses just to add them in a month after launch? This is honestly so stupid, and it's getting pretty ridiculous that for the first month of the last 2 games, the only reliable way to get gear is endlessly farming a fucking loot pinata. Seriously, the main thing that draws me to the Borderlands franchise is farming. I love farming for all the super rare gear in this game, but the fact that most of the gear is rare simply because you're playing the world drop lottery just pisses me off. Honestly, if this same bullshit happens in Borderlands 4, I'm going to throw my computer out a f***ing window. Make named enemies and mini-bosses respawn in Wonderlands, Gearbox. Please. Alright, and on that very angry note, I think it's about time to wrap up the video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see all of you in the next one. Bye.